Hi guys! Today's video is on dynamic programming. So, Papa, you must have noticed a separate playlist on my channel on dynamic programming.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So, those are actually considered one of the toughest problems.
Okay.
But these are also the most important problems for big companies.
Okay.
So, what we are going to do today is explain the concept behind it. We are going to take a basic example.
But what I am supposed to do?
So, you're supposed to understand. Okay.
Let me try.
So the idea behind this video is that anyone can understand dynamic programming, even beginner of coding. Okay, but if you are able to do those questions or not depends on your practice. Okay. So we are going to take a basic example. We are going to solve it without dynamic programming first, then understand how can it be better with dynamic programming. And also the most important part will be that I will show you the code on an online IDE and I will actually show you why one is better than the other. Okay. And we will also cover all the concepts related to it like tabulation, memoization, recursion, everything.
What is this tabulation and memoization?
I think. Okay, so let's get started. So this is the example that we'll be considering. Here is a series. Can you notice the pattern behind it?
Let's see. 1, 2, 5. No, I'm not able to recognize the pattern because neither arithmetic progression is there, neither geometric progression is there. Neither the alternate numbers are. So, can you please help? I don't find any pattern.
Okay. So the pattern is that every number is sum of the previous two numbers.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. So actually the pattern is given to you in the question, so you don't have to bother about it.
Okay.
This was just for fun, so it's okay. So the base conditions are given to you. That is, see, these are the values. Okay. So the value corresponding to the first index is 1. The value corresponding to the fourth index is 3. It's like that. So how we have functions in maths now, we have similar functions in coding also. So you send some value and some value is returned to you, right? So if we have to write a general function for this, how can we write f of x?
Yeah.
So f of 5 is 5, f of 3 is 2, f of 1 is 1, f of 0 is 0, like that. Okay. Now these two values are given to you. Rest all the values have to be calculated. Right? So can you tell me a general formula for this?
See, general formula can be only after these two values only.
These two are basic values like that are given to you.
So, we can have a general formula after this.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It could be fx is equal to fx minus 1 plus fx minus 2.
Right, f of, you say f of, right? Because it's a function.
X minus 1 plus x minus 2.
So
this condition will be valid from third element only.
But this is 0th index, so it starts from 0. From third element, yes, but you can say from index 2. So for all the values greater than or equal to 2, for all the values of x greater than or equal to 2, this is valid. Right?
Yeah.
This formula is the basis of the problem. Like it's
but
the most important.
Those conditions have to be written along with the formula, no?
Right. We haven't written the entire thing yet. This is just a pseudo code. It's basically a general solution that will work everywhere. Okay. So this is actually called Fibonacci series. Okay. So this is the general formula for Fibonacci series.
Fibonacci is a terminology of coding?
No. This is this pattern is called Fibonacci. It's behind a person's name. Okay. So now we'll write general code of this. Okay. I'm going to rub this and write code for this.
But when a simple formula can solve the solution, why do we need a code?
So this is just part of the code. Right? But as you said, we have to write the base conditions and we have to write everything. Right? How will we calculate? I'm going to write the entire function. So this is the general formula, but this function I'm going to write. Okay. I'm going to write the code behind it. So we're going to write the function now, right? What are the things in function? We give some values and some values are returned, right? So what is the value that we are going to return? It will be of type integer, right? Function name is suppose f1. Okay, and you have to send the value for which you have to calculate. So suppose it is x. Right? As we saw, we have to write the base conditions. So what are the base conditions? If x is less than or equal to 1 for these two values, we have to return x itself, because f of 0 is 0, f of 1 is 1.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes.
But for all the other values, we have to return f of x minus 1 plus f of x minus 2.
Okay. Okay.
So we just did recursion.
What is the recursion?
So we are calling the same function recursively.
Okay.
Okay. So we are calling this function itself for different values of x.
Okay.
Right. So this will be called again with the new value x minus 1, x minus 2. Right. So there is base conditions to stop.
Okay.
But this is called recursion.
Okay.
So this is how beginners will code. Okay. So this will be a solution that anyone should be able to come up with. Okay. But now let's see what will be the problem with it.
Preeti, what do you mean by problem?
Let me show you. Okay, just let me show you now. So suppose we have to calculate f of 6, right?
Okay.
We have to calculate values f of 5 and f of 4 for that,
Yes.
right? For f of 5 we have to again calculate f of 4, f of 3,
3.
again over here f of 3, f of 2,
2.
similarly f of 2, f of 1,
And
0,
similarly here.
and similarly here.
Okay.
Right.
This tree will continue.
Right. So till we reach the base conditions, that is 1 and 0.
This increases the complexity.
Let
But
me-
what is the problem?
The problem is that we are calculating the some things again and again. F of 4,
Okay.
f of 3, f of 3. Similarly, f of 2 you will find in multiple places. F of 1 you will find in multiple places.
Okay.
Okay. So the same thing you are calculating again and again.
But we can do one thing. Calculate once and get it stored somewhere.
Exactly the point. So in recursion, we don't store it anywhere. We calculate it again and again. This is what we are doing, right? We are not storing it anywhere.
Okay.
But in dynamic programming, we store the values.
Okay.
That is the exact point that you said, right? Because here we are recomputing the values again.
Values.
So this is the basics of dynamic programming, that we store the answers to sub-problems and use them for bigger problems.
And how do you decide whether to calculate again and again? Which will be an efficient solution? Calculating it again and again or storing it?
So it depends, okay? So here obviously this is better because you're saving time.
Okay.
But you will end up taking some space as well.
We are not saving time, because if F5 is F4 is getting calculated again and again, we are increasing time.
I'm saying in dynamic programming you will end up saving time.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? But you will take up some extra space.
Yes, for the storage.
Correct. So if the values that have to be calculated are very small, so x values are say till 4, till 5, it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
But if x values are really huge, then the time will increase a lot. It will increase exponentially. And this is what I will actually show you.
Okay.
That the time that it takes with DP and without DP. You will see it actually in the code.
DP is dynamic programming.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. But in DP you will end up taking some extra space. So it's a trade-off.
Okay. Then how do you decide?
Usually DP is better because the time that you end up saving is much better than the space that you end up taking.
Okay.
Usually that is the case. Okay. So it is also possible that recursion takes as much time as DP only, around the same time, and it also saves space, right?
Okay.
So it depends on the question, on the problem, on the test cases that you have to run. It depends. So you can never say that, okay, this is always better than the other.
Okay.
Now, as we discussed, we are going to store the values, right? But how can we store the values? So there are ways to do that also. There is tabulation and there is memoization. So that is ways to store the subproblems.
Both these methods are for
Dynamic
storage.
program. Yes. Okay. So one is called bottom-up approach, one is called top-down. So these are just huge terms, but it's very easy. Let me explain you. Okay. So we'll be using DP for this now.
Tabulation I can understand. It may be in a tabular form, but what is memoization?
I'll tell you, right. So for this, suppose we have to do DP. How will we do? So we'll take an array. Array is basically a structure to store values together, like in an order. Okay. So it is zero indexing. We write the base values and we traverse the array like through this, right? So from 0 till 6. So for what will be the value for this? It will be sum of these two. What will be the value at this? Sum of these two. Sum of these two. Sum of these two. And sum of these two.
8.
Right? Makes sense?
Yeah.
Now, how will the code look? So we'll be using for loop for this that we learned last time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So suppose there's an array called ARR, and we already wrote our base conditions for 0 and 1. So we have to start our for loop from the second index, right? Index 2, that is third element. And we have to go till less than n or equal to n till wherever we have to calculate I plus plus.
What is this plus plus?
This is same as I equal to I plus 1.
Then why do we write plus plus?
It's a short form today. Okay, in C++. So over here, array of I will be equal to array of I minus 1 plus array of
I minus 2.
I minus 2. This makes sense?
Yeah.
So this is called DP.
But where is the condition?
Those base conditions we already wrote, like before the for loop. We don't have to write it in the for loop, right? We are starting only from the second index.
Okay.
Understood?
Yeah.
So this is tabulation. Because we are starting from the 0th index, we knew that all these values had to be calculated.
Okay.
Right? But instead of knowing the pattern, there can be case we don't know a pattern. Right?
Okay.
So what we are going to do is, initially we are going to take all the values as minus 1. So this minus 1 over here denotes that the values have not been calculated.
Why do we choose minus?
Because we know that in this case, minus 1 can never be an answer.
So it is a summation of the previous two.
Right. So it will always be greater than 0. So it depends from problem to problem. Here we know that it can never be negative.
Okay.
So we have taken these as initial condition, which means that the values have not been calculated. Okay. Now we do f of x equal to f of x minus 1 plus f of x minus 2.
Yes.
We start from, first we update the initial conditions, that is 0 and 1. Okay. Then we start from 6. We come over here, we see, okay, the value has not been calculated yet. So we calculate this.
Okay.
For f of 5, f of 4, we see the values have not been calculated. Again for 3, for 2. Then we calculate for 2. Okay, and we store the value. So the next time when we come from another part of the tree, we don't calculate again.
So while going from this side, from top to bottom, we are not storing it here. Only when we come to some end, then we start storing.
So only when you will be able to calculate a value, you will be able to store, right? But for this, you have to calculate
this. Oh, yes.
Right? You will end up calculating this.
Yes.
Then you will end up calculating this. The point is that you will not calculate it again. You will store the value.
Okay.
Clear. So this is called memoization.
Okay.
So what you are doing is you are going top to down. So you are not going to find any pattern over here. Here we knew that we are going to calculate all the values. We know a pattern. So let's just use this. So this is tabulation. Okay. But it is not always easy to find a pattern. Plus sometimes it can be the case that you don't have to calculate all the subproblems. Right. Sometimes you have to calculate only few values. Then memoization can be better. Right? So both tabulation and memoization is to store values. But how and when we are going to store is different. Do you have any questions yet?
No.
So you have understood, right?
It's clear so far.
So we understood how we can do recursion. Once we have the recursion solution, we can use dynamic programming to store the subproblems and do it. So if we actually go through all the questions I've done in my playlist, you will see there's a pattern. Like instead of calculating those things again and again, I'm storing the values in a matrix or somewhere. Usually it's a 2D matrix in the questions that I have taken. We store the values and we use them to find the solutions to bigger problems.
So in your series of tutorials, you should have used this method earlier to explain it to the audience.
Yeah, I actually do very tough questions. I've covered those. So actually requests came to cover the basics of dynamic programming. So I'm doing that now. So what is it actually? So discussions go on my videos that whether we should do from tabulation, memoization. But in reality, in interviews, you don't have time to cover all of these approaches. Usually, if you are able to come up with a recursive solution, you have to find the pattern and you have to write a DP solution soon. Right? So that's what I try to do in my questions. Like I'm doing interview level questions. This is a basic dynamic programming. Okay. So now let's actually see in an online IDE that how much time we end up saving by using DP. Okay. So let's do that now. So this is the code. As you can see, I have written two codes. So this part is for recursion and this part is for dynamic programming.
Okay.
Okay, and we are going to see the time it is taking for both the approaches. So here you can see I'm starting the clock, here I'm
Okay.
stopping the clock.
This is for recursion.
This is for recursion. Okay, and you can see I have called the function over here, the function that we wrote.
Okay. N minus 1 plus n minus 2.
Right.
Right.
So this is the recursive function.
Okay.
And we will see how much time it is taking for recursion.
Okay.
Okay, and for dynamic programming, I have taken an array and stored values over here.
Okay.
Right? But here also we will be calculating time and we will see that okay, what is taking more time. Okay, and we will be taking a range of n's to see ki, okay, as the value of n increases, what happens.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So now let's run this code and check.
What's the value of n you have taken now?
See, so here value of n is increasing.
Okay.
It is 10, 20, 30, 40. So here the Fibonacci value is there and here the recursive time taken and the TP time taken. You can see the difference. As the value of n is increasing, the time is increasing.
My God. And what is the unit of this time?
So as you can see over here, this is in nanoseconds.
Nanoseconds. Okay. And the
So every time you run, actually there will be a little bit of difference according to the system time.
Acha, maybe
But-
because of the load on system.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can easily see the difference it is taking in
It's a
recursion
huge
and
difference.
in DP.
Huge difference.
Yeah. So if n values are really huge, like right now it is just 40, right?
I can't even think of multiples.
Right. So now you know the advantages
Advantages
of
of DP. My God. Excellent, excellent. Really. I was wondering why to go in for DP when we can do it with simple recursion.
Now you understand.
Yeah, yeah. Lot of time saving is there.
Alright.
Okay, good.